Oh, it's coming great. You know, the stadium's going to be done in July. We're going to have events in August, opening it up, some special, even maybe a practice or two, and bring in some people who have purchased some of the seating in the bowl. And so we're really looking forward to it. When you walk through it, having taken some people through it, they're just blown away at it. We actually, Nebraska was in today to take a look at it. The Texans have been in, Penn State's been in, there's been a bunch of schools coming in, just wanting to see the uniqueness that we did with the sight lines and the premium and the different fan experiences. So they were wanting to come in and look how we were putting everything together. And so I'm real excited about it.
Football only facility, how's that coming?
On target as well, be done in August. Now the team won't move in probably to the bye week, not to disrupt practice, but that's also a good thing because it gives us the opportunity to do some events in it, to get people through the facility to see it prior to the team moving in. But yeah, it's going to be the best in the country. By far, that's another reason some schools have come in because we've been able to fly around the country, NFL, and some collegiate facilities, take the best of best, and then expand on it. And when you see some of the areas for the spacing for the young men walking through there, you know, I always we 150,000 square feet, but we don't have it. It's all football. There's nothing else in there. Just the hallways, how wide the hallways are, how impressive they are. It's in some of the areas, the pool areas, we were able to expand the square footage because we were keeping it just football and the student athlete experience. No training table or anything crazy within that space. So really excited about that and the difference it's going to make for our student athletes.
What was just this experience been like? You know, now it feels like the sun. There's a kind of new direction for the ACC. How has that been? Has it been any different for you and the other ACC?
You know, we've always had a great relationship. I always go back, and you've heard me since we started this, that Jim and I have always communicated. Communicated our thoughts, communicated our feelings about the direction of the ACC. I will continue to communicate about the direction of the ACC, but we're really excited. This is now put behind us. We have a path going forward. We have a path to really look at how we grow the conference together, how we expand on the great brands that are in this conference and really promote the ACC and especially ACC football moving forward and give it its day in the sun. So excited about the future. Communication was always there and it continues to be a great relationship we have.
That series between Clemson and Notre Dame, is that anything that you see intrigue in with, of course, and maybe being able to schedule a similar rival for that period?
Yeah, well, the great relationship we have with both those institutions, so fully aware of those discussions going on. The way I kind of viewed it, that was Clemson's Miami game every year. We get Clemson every year, we get Miami every year, we have Alabama, we have Georgia, and they didn't have that. We have Florida, they have South Carolina, they didn't have that opponent. So this is really there. But we also played Notre Dame more than anybody else in the league in the current scheduling format. So great. Also talking to Notre Dame about playing more often. You know, I'm very vocal. Brands on brands grow this league. Brands on brands help this league and promote it. So I'm always saying the best brands need to play. I want to play Virginia Tech more. I want to play Virginia more often. So it's something where it's constant communication to the league about our feelings.
Was that contract put together between Clemson and Notre Dame, or did it somehow go through the ACC?
It's put together between the two institutions on the length of it. They played some times through our regular scheduling format within that, but the years they didn't play is when they went and supplemented the games.
So will those be considered out-of-conference games?
Yes. Well, everything with Notre Dame's out of conference games.
Yeah, that's true. In terms of the revenue share on television ratings, that helps.
Yeah, it always helps. Whenever you get the best brands playing, and it really helps them with the new model. But it also promotes the league, and that's the reason we play at Alabama and Georgia. And we're going to continue to do that moving forward, and we're going to continue to look at what can we do to not only grow Florida State, but also to look at those ratings and get those. So I always tell people when you come to the game this fall to leave your TVs on at the house.
So have you seen other? Excuse me. Have you seen other schools in the league starting to move in that direction to schedule this?
Yeah, hopefully, you know, that's one thing I always wanted to promote, that we need to play people as a league. And we need to go out and win those games as a league. So it's very important that we look and to grow the brand of the league and to grow each team's brand. We need to be scheduling those games moving forward.
Is there a number for the revenue share that you think you guys are going to boost?
We're still working through it right now, and a lot of different models on what the ratings are going to be and forecasting the ratings, and it's a 5-year aggregate goal. So we'll still, but it is going to be give us the ability, if you go out and perform, and anyone, any school in our conference can earn it, to go out and perform and schedule those games to get those ratings to get you close to competing nationally amongst the other two conferences.
So when people throw out the number like 18 million, is that in the ballpark? Okay. And is it hard to budget when you don't know definitively what that number is going to be?
Well, you can forecast. You can kind of look at what your schedule is going to be, look at past, look at your previous 4 years, anticipate what the next year is going to be, and then kind of schedule conservatively in that window.
Will that be an official hard document once you figure that out?
I would assume. Yeah. They're still figuring it out. Still a lot of different scenarios they're playing for. But yeah, I think it'd be a hard document because it's got to go into the bylaws.
Presidential committee, do you think that there's a need for it? What do you hope that maybe it can produce?
Are you talking Trump?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I think there's oversight or a need. I wouldn't say oversight, but a need if the House does it go. I was in D.C. I was very aware that Cody Campbell had been there a couple of days before me. I was a couple doors down in the West Wing, bringing up this issue. I was made very aware that the president was very on top of it. So he understands it, and that's exciting that he understands and the White House understands the issues of college sports. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll be prepared either way.
What about the eagerness of the SEC and the Big Ten to kind of want to create the rules and the structure moving forward? What does that say about the future of college football?
Well, I know from hearing inside that room, Jim's very vocal in his support in fighting for our conference moving forward, and you know, I believe in him. I believe he's going to go in there and fight for us and put us in a great spot to have success in the future.
Just walking in, I mean, I'm sure you speak to Mike Norvell maybe more than your own wife. How different? Has he changed at all in the last year? What have you seen and kind of heard from him lately?
He has never changed. You know, that energy level's always on top. And we talk daily, several times a day, every day. And his energy level, his dedication to the program, his attention to detail, and the relationship he has with his players. You've heard me talk about that for years, being able to see it behind the scenes. It's just a relationship. He's got a drive about him. Really excited about this upcoming team and this upcoming year, and I think he's getting everything prepared. It's going to be, you know, taking a step back and letting someone call the plays on offense will give him a better feel for not only game management, but looking at the whole organization and making sure he has everything in place to be successful. So excited about where he's heading and the changes that we've made.
It sounds like there's confidence that the House Settlement will be approved, but how difficult has this been recently, just not knowing exactly how many scholarships, some of the...
Well, we have different scenarios, you know, in the grandfather clause. I'm fine with that. And I said in the room, fine with the grandfather clause in if that's the route we're going to go. You got a lot of athletes. Now, the difficulty is some of those have already transferred. So you got to go back and look and try to find them, one, and see if they want to come back or look even within your own campus if they're still enrolled. So we got a plan to do that once this passes, and all for provide as many opportunities for young men and women to compete at the highest level as we can.
You know, you said in the past that you have plans for the salary cap. It's not a hard cap. Recently, I think it was Indiana's coach said that there might be some teams with 30, 40 million. So you're talking about doubling the potential cap. Do you have a plan for?
Well, you have right now this 1 year. You have the one chance to call it manipulate the cap. front load in the old system for it until the cap takes place July 1st. So yeah, there's all kinds of stories out there about how people are front loading agreements as much as you can. But this is the 1 year that you can do that and kind of manipulate the salary cap that's coming down. But once it gets in place, the next year will be a hard cap.
You've talked a lot about the brand. How much does Bill Belichick raise the brand of the ACC?
There's definitely going to bring attention to it, bring attention to the ACC as a conference as a whole, and that's great. The more times, we have television sets that are talking about the ACC nationally, they're talking about teams within our conference nationally. It just promotes it and it lets people be aware of how great football is played in this conference. So you see a person of his stature come and coach in this league, it tells you what a good thing it is.
Like the House settlement, how much did you all talk about that in your meetings?
In detail. We're constantly talking about it, getting updates from our legal counsels on where it is, what the briefs are in the briefs, what the next steps will be. So I'd say that is a weekly discussion that we're having. We're also internally monitoring as we go along, and more internally, more prepared as we go along for when it passes, that we can hit the ground running. So a lot of preparation has been done prior to this, and then also having different scenarios if it doesn't pass. What are we going to do? So I told in an interview earlier, I got 3 different budgets right now that I'm prepared to activate on, depending on where we go. In this case, so I'm just waiting, and we have Board of Trustee meetings in Tampa, and I'm sure that'll be a topic. It's a retreat, but it'll be a topic. Okay, we got these 3 budgets, and basically I'm just going to update on the House side.
Yeah.
How much more firm ground, higher land is Florida State University on now post-settlement in your mind?
Well, we were able to prepare. If you talk about it as an organization, that was one thing that we knew this was coming. The industry knew this was coming. So
Well, I'm sorry. I meant more so about the settlement with the ACC, with you and Clemson dropping the lawsuits, and I guess kind of an exit of 2030 being out on the horizon at some point.
Yes, you look in the future, and that was one thing that, in working with the ACC, is we wanted just to look at the future of when potential shifts in this industry. But if it happens next year, if you have this Super League form, if you have this, there's so many different scenarios out there. You just wanted to be able to have the opportunities to participate in whatever scenario comes into play. And we were just looking at the 2030. We're still signed up to 2036, but we haven't defined. Now everything's defined, where before it was not defined of what your opportunities were and what the timeline of all the different opportunities could come into play.
How do you feel about some collectives going after players for buyouts after they leave and don't fulfill their corporate obligations and contracts?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, especially right now. You saw the one case of the SEC school go after a player that, it is a contract. They not knowing that contract or seeing what the language is. All of us have contracts in our organizations, and you have to honor what you agreed to. So if there is buyout language, it would be something that discussed. Now that's always could be negotiated, just like you do with a coach or anything else. But there is buyout language in there that needs to be looked at.
Does your collective ever try to enforce that?
I've never seen a contract in my collective.
Do you feel there's momentum behind the idea of one signing period as opposed to
Yeah, this has definitely been discussed. Looking at one signing period, one transfer portal compared to the 2 transfer portals. So those are things that the football coaches have brought up. We'll take it up to the council, and we'll see. But it could become benefit. There's pros and cons to all. Let's decide what's best moving forward with the different landscape.
How confident are you guys that Deloitte can fix some of the NIL issues? And do you come out of there? How impressive is their presentation? Do you come out of that thinking this is the key to maybe all of it?
Well, I'm very confident in it. That's where I have experience, unlike some others in my many years in the NFL. Dealing with a very, very similar system, and Deloitte even within that system, looking at range of compensation on agreements and sending, and more importantly, the experience I have of getting audited on the back end to make sure that in those agreements you weren't discounting the assets within it, to make sure you were cheating the cap, let's say, by paying someone more than they're worth. So having those experiences have given us the advantage, in my opinion, to set up a system internally that has those checks and balances going forward. So I'm very confident in it. I've seen it work. Know it will work once we can have it.
It's the same system at NFL, NBA, and
Very similar,
and
same
Major League
algorithm.
Baseball.
Yeah, same algorithm.
Who's in charge of enforcement?
That's something they're coming up in Pearl, our legal counsel. The conference is actually, I believe, leading that, setting that group, and that's something they're still working on. It's going to be outside the NCAA, from my understanding. But that's one thing when you talk to various commissioners, when you talk to different people within other peer conferences, we all want enforcement. This doesn't work without enforcement. So. It doesn't work without accounting and enforcement, so we really want to make sure that they're enforcing the laws set forth.
On the campus level, how does the campus level get the players to file NIL reports and all that?
Yeah, we got a system internally we're going to be running through our business office and with assistance of our general manager and working with the players. But at the end of the day, it's up to the players. They have to turn it in. They have to put it through the system of any agreement they have. Now, if it's the rev share agreement, we turn that in and work with them. If it's an outside NIL deal with Lloyd, then they have to turn that in. That's their responsibility.
If a player's non-compliant, doesn't want to cooperate?
There should be rules. There will be rules in my anticipation against them for that.
How was the baseball committee?
Awesome. 2.5 hours today. Looking forward to it. But now we're really getting into the nuts and bolts. Really looking at where teams rank, really getting into detail coming down the stretch here. Some big weekends for some teams coming up this weekend. My poor wife, Laura, she's watched more West Coast baseball than she can see, but her beloved Hawaii Rainbows are having a good year, so I get to watch them often. But no, it's been a lot of fun, and really working on too. Next year I'll be chair, and looking at how do we modernize the umpiring. How do we look at data? We just hired a new coordinator of umpires for the whole country, and working with him on, hey, coming in next year, we want to use data more. You still got to do the eye test. You still got to go and see how someone controls the game as an umpire, and their demeanor and everything else that goes with that. But you also have now data to what percentage of balls and strikes, but also use it to coach up our umpires. If you see you're missing a hot zone, much like a hitter, a slider away, you're missing that call more often, or a lower percentage of that call that you're missing, then let's work on that and use it as a teaching tool to get the sport better. So that's something I'm really excited about, partnering with him on in the next year and seeing how we can improve the game moving forward. But the committee's great people in the committee. Can't wait to get to Indianapolis. It's going to be an exciting bracket this year because we're just going through it. And I think this is going to be one of the hardest seeding years in history because there's so many teams up top. No one has really broken away and defined it. And so I think it's going to be a fun time to sit down, look at the numbers, geek out on them a little bit, and really do the seeding as we move forward for this year.
You got to push for the check swing camera.
That might be something we discuss moving in next year, because it is a call that you can review. One thing I am when I'm talking to reviews, I think we take too long in the reviews. I know when I'm at games, I see it, and okay, this one, and 2 minutes later, there's people still coming out. Need to speed that part of the game up, and that's just some of the nuances that I'm really excited to get in.
Thank you.